Hey everyone, can you guys hear me? What's up? You can hear me? You can all hear me? Okay, cool. How's everyone doing? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's good. I'm sorry. I planned to do this I think a couple of weeks ago, and I'm in the middle of school, so I got pretty busy there. So I'll try to answer some questions here. I'll try to do this a bit more often. It's also just raining a lot right now, so I don't have anything else to do. Um, okay, so I'll try to answer some of the things you guys put down in the community post. Um, School's going good. I'm in doing my PhD in clinical psychology, so we're uh, deep into it. We're doing a lot of clinical work, a lot of research, advanced stats. It's been pretty exhausting. So this is like a nice little change of pace. Yeah, I'd imagine a lot of people are in their final exams right now. If you're in school, yeah. Whoa, that light is strong. Maybe I should move this way. There we go. Oh, the person in the new video, that is Isaac. That's my brother. So he is the other half of the channel. Hopefully, you'll see him more. Extremely talented. All of the visuals, editing, that's him. I'd recommend also just checking out his own channel under the same name. Some of you know him as Housecat. I saw one comment where somebody said that they thought we were using some like AI voice change thing, and no, it's he's just like a different person. It's not a yeah. We're not trying to do anything like that. Um. Okay. This person asked what made you choose to do YouTube as a platform. I don't think that was like a conscious decision. I like to make films when I was a kid, and this was like one uh avenue to do that. I didn't imagine that it would catch on as much as it did. Um that's pretty much it. And yeah, I mean now there's like I think a lot more avenues. There's TikTok, Instagram, uh Substack if you want to do writing. A lot of thank yous. Those are nice. Uh, who's more based, the Marxists or the existentialists? A decent amount of the existentialists were Marxist. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote the uh, God, what is it called? I don't know. It's about praxis. He tried to relate existentialism to Marxism. I don't think he quite was able to do it. He tried to come up with like an ethics of existentialism. Simone de Beauvoir elaborates on that in the Ethics of Ambiguity. Uh, in your Why Don't You Feel Anything Anymore video, you mentioned how you started running and coaching as a way to do things during your depressive episode, which in turn managed to improve your mood. Do you think your brain just genuinely wants you to do things, and that the chemicals that allow you to feel better are the reward for doing things that make you healthier or improve your social life? I know when you're depressed, it's really hard to find motivation or reason to do things, but maybe I'm still supposed to be doing things and the brain will reward me once I've done them. That's a pretty good summary of what's going on there. It's behavioral activation, which is a pretty effective kind of requires few resources. It's like a pretty quick intervention for people that are depressed. And it's really just based around getting positive reinforcement through behaving and or through not behaving through I was thinking about like behavior and like positive versus negative reinforcement and punishment um through engagement in the environment. So it is kind of a just do it strategy where you do things without motivation. And yeah, it's proven to be pretty effective. It's obviously not going to work for everybody. But yeah, I'd recommend there's a few resources out there for behavioral activation. I should probably make a list on that. Um, what kind of education have you had? Do or did you study philosophy? What was your plan in life career wise? No, that's changed a lot. I studied originally political science in university, and then I switched into psychology. I was originally going to go to law school, and then I got into psychology, and then I don't know if I really explicitly wanted to become a psychologist at the time. I was just interested, and then I took a few years off. I was doing YouTube. I was actually going to go. I got into a program in Spain for political philosophy in Barcelona, but then I there was the opportunity to pursue clinical psychology, and I realized just the novelty of it, and it's very practical, but it's also very like academic and research driven. That really appealed to me, and yeah, I think it's been a good choice so far. And I'm right now it's the career that I'm interested in. I'm reading these on the community post that I posted like it looks like about 3 weeks ago. Wow, not 2 weeks. It was 3 weeks that I've neglected this. What is the logic behind slash how do you understand alcoholism? I mean, a while ago, I did a video on Ernest Hemingway and his relationship with alcoholism. But I think I would like to revisit the concept of addiction and substance use, especially kind of with the things that I've been learning about more recently. I think it's really interesting. I'd like to collaborate with some organization, maybe in Montreal, that is uh, specific to kind of alcoholism and substance use. Um, any albums you particularly like? Yeah, I like a lot of albums. I think I just it was raining a lot the other day, and I put on um, like 3 Beach House albums that just really complemented the environment. Um, what else have I been listening to? A lot of Magdalena Bay recently. I got really into their new album, and then that made me revisit their or not even revisit, I've never heard them before. Made me, look at their previous discography, like Mercurial World, and yeah, they're really talented. I really like their stuff. Sorry, I'm just trying to skim these. These are a lot of questions. Do you believe that some people have depression baked in them, no matter how much they change or their environment changes? No matter how many relationships blossom, how actively and successfully they participate in life, they still remain the same, constantly haunted by their nature. Uh, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. There is kind of, for the most part, depression is seen as, treatable, but there is I think, a subtype of depression that's called, I think, like melancholic depression. And that one it seems to be more genetically based. These individuals don't tend to have high emotional reactivity to events. So both good things and bad things don't seem to provoke much of a reaction. And I think that it's a bit more, it's a sort of depression that is more resistant to um, pharmaceutical intervention and stuff like that. So there does appear to be some presentations of depression that are a bit more, I don't know, organic. I think I've heard that word used, which is interesting. Um, what would you say to people who think or feel that hip hop isn't a form of storytelling or art? Uh, I mean, I don't think somebody saying that probably wouldn't be very interested in this, but I would recommend that they actually engage in it. There's just so many good examples in hip hop of storytelling and art, and the whole history of hip hop is, you know, quite culturally significant, and it conveys a lot of social movements, a lot of different topics, and I don't know. I mean, Kendrick is a good example with, uh, um, like he does kind of talk about a very specific perspective. Ugh. Um, but he uses art to really explore it in a way that is kind of uh, communicable to a large audience. You ever thought of going to school to be a therapist? Yeah, I mean, that's clinical psychology. You're a clinician slash researcher. I mean, I can read some of the some of the questions on the live chat just after I get through these community post questions. Um, Here, I'll put it in the chat. The what I'm reading off of. If you had to recommend a single book everyone should read, which one would it be? Ooh, that's hard. I do really like Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse because it's like pretty simple. You can read it pretty quickly. Read it in like a day. Um, what else? I don't know. I have to think about that one. That one's kind of hard. Do you have a desire to write a book at some point? I am actually we're pretty much done writing a like I've been writing a book for about a year. It's going to be released soon. Um, I guess if you're interested in that, if you guys have any questions, but yeah, it's hopefully you'll like it. It's about kind of traversing an existential crisis, um, and yeah, we just kind of are trying to finalize the book cover and um, the just little typos here and there. I did it in collaboration with actually maybe I won't say too much, but yeah, I'll let you guys know more. I'm putting it under my real name, but it'll be, you know, for the people that know, I guess. Um, how did you find your minimalist art style? Yeah, that was really just on that was just out of laziness. I just don't really have a great ability to draw. So I appreciate that so many people liked it. Yeah, yeah, I'm going to talk about the book in a video just so people that want to read it are aware. How much do you think you've grown as a person since the start of the channel? Um, yeah, I mean, it's been 10 years now. So hopefully I've grown. I would like to think so. It's I mean, who's to say? The channel's really evolved a lot. I mean, there was years where I didn't really post that much, and then, you know, a couple of years where it was really consistent, and now it's kind of I'm a bit more distant because I'm pursuing something else, and um I'm sure I've grown in terms of I was talking to somebody about this. It's a bit of like a Dunning-Kruger thing where I think when I started the channel, I didn't know that much about philosophy, but I was really motivated to talk about like psychology, philosophy, social sciences. And the more I know, the less I am like motivated to just make broad claims about things. And even when I put out videos, I'm usually disappointed in the inability to capture the amount of nuance because you have to kind of constrain it into just, 10, 20 minutes at the most. So I don't know. Like I've felt a little bit of a separation at times because I've really become more interested in very specific things when I used to just be more like generally interested in, existentialism, depression, and I think I'm trying to return to. I was talking to my brother about this, like returning to why I'm interested in those things because I think that's what really resonated with the channel to begin with. Um, Can you be happy living without a purpose in mind? I actually just talked recently to Tatiana Schnell. I'd recommend that podcast. She um, is like one of the top researchers in meaningfulness in psychology. And she talked about how there is like a certain amount of people that they are happy living without, meaning or purpose. Um, I mean, it goes back to kind of the fragility of that happiness, though. It could be disrupted quite easily, and we are very like reflective, cognitive creatures. So the extent to which that's really sustainable probably depends on the individual. How do you spend your day? Ooh, yeah. I mean, I am working pretty much all day. I'll go to the gym for a little bit. I'm mostly reading or writing or doing research or studying or something, and yeah, or just taking the bus or something. Um, do you think ACT as a therapy is more effective than CBT? So ACT is acceptance commitment therapy. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT appears to be generally more effective, but ACT seems to be effective when it comes to like more minimal depression. One person that was talking about this, they said that it's like it seems to make sense when people are like overthinkers to like go into ACT because it really focuses on cognitive diffusion and targeting experiential avoidance. So that would be the extent to which one therapy is more effective than the other. I mean, a lot of papers show that the differences in efficacy across approaches aren't very significant. Usually, it's usually like the therapeutic common factors in the relationship, like empathy, validation. That seems to be what's accounting for a lot of the variance. Um, so I don't know. Okay, I'll read a few in the chat. Let's see. Um, Thoughts and advice on going into academia for philosophy or pursuing philosophy just as a hobby. I don't actually have much of a background in academic philosophy, which is maybe unfortunate to hear for some, but for those that I've talked to, it sounds very fulfilling if you're going in it for the right reasons. And if you're a genuinely like curious person who is a critical thinker and they want to learn and grow and challenge themselves. I think that's really all you need. I think if you're going in to prove something or to get something kind of more extrinsic out of it, it's maybe not going to be as fulfilling. Don't you think that many folks solve problems that they themselves have imagined simply because their minds are exhausted by boredom? Um, As in people come up with issues and then they want to, I mean, I guess that's like Pascal's like whole idea that, most of humanity's problems are due to our like inability to sit in a room alone. I guess on some level it is that issue of solving problems that we create. But I don't know if I quite understand that question. Some podcasts that I'd recommend. I've always liked Stuff You Should Know. I always find that to be like a really good kind of podcast to just listen to like on long flights and stuff. They have so much content, and I just like the chemistry of the hosts. Opinion on the antinatalist philosophy. I mean, I think there is some validity to it. You can point to a lot of the suffering in the world. We are conditioned to, like socially, it's socially endorsed to have a family and stuff like that. So I wouldn't you know totally reject some of the claims, and maybe it's just a bit of something that I have some personal dissonance in terms of how much I don't endorse it. Um, I think I guess there's something extremely pessimistic about it that I guess I just don't like on a more like personal emotional level, but maybe I'm not smart enough to argue against some of its claims. Um, Antinatalism kind of reminds me of accelerationism a bit. I just find it's like a very kind of like throw up your hands philosophy. Like you're kind of, I don't know, being extremely pessimistic and then just kind of because you can't control things, you're taking control of that lack of control, or you're giving the illusion that you are, if that makes sense. I just find it kind of a little bit. I think accelerationism a lot more. I find it a lot more kind of pathetic. Antinatalism, it really is like a personal choice, so I can't, go against it. Yeah, the Exerbia um, stuff. I've been aware of that for quite a few years. I don't know. Because I get compared to him a lot, and I haven't mentioned it too much, but yeah, I don't know. The stuff, I don't know how true it is, but like the stuff that I've read, I'm kind of like a little bit weirded out. Um, I think there's like a whole subreddit on him and that whole thing, but I don't know. I don't know how much true how true that really is. Okay, I'll try to answer a few more of the posts or a few more of the comments on the post. Um, any movies or TV shows or directors you'd recommend? What are your faves? I did just start watching Twin Peaks, which I'm really enjoying, especially because I'm from a really small town in the mountains, so it's comforting. And I like detective shows, and I really like the soundtrack. I have been listening to the soundtrack like a lot. Um, and I've been watching In Treatment, which is about a therapist, and I've been watching Severance with my brother. I'm sure you can tell from the editing and some of the videos, he's pretty inspired by that. Uh, been around for a few years. Wanted to know if over time you found your video process leaning towards efficiency or more towards higher effort, artful direction, or both. Yeah, it kind of just depends on, to what extent is the channel central to what I'm doing currently. Sometimes it's the only thing I'm doing, and more recently it's not. Um, and so I don't know, but also just sometimes ironically efficiency and artistry can go hand in hand. Like if you have too much time sitting around, uh, just thinking about what you could possibly make and then not actually doing anything, that can be quite, um, I don't know. It can really ruin the process, and then at the same time, obviously, like efficiency alone can be, um, it can really just ruin any sort of creativity and spontaneity. So I think it's ideally if I have a life that kind of constrains me in both directions. I shouldn't be just all efficiency, and then also I should really, you know, try to tap into the more creative elements a bit more. I think it's very hard when you're on the business side of things to uh, kind of neglect what made you really want to start this, which is this kind of honest pursuit of creativity and just kind of engaging with people. Hmm. You remind me of Chief Keef. I get that a lot. Do you think our consciousness is really a way of the universe to meet and admire itself? I don't know if it's actively doing that. That's probably a hard thing to claim. But do you think our consciousness is really a way of the universe to meet and admire itself? Yeah, I mean, it is. It is doing that. It's also like, you know, uh, denigrating itself and rejecting itself and at war with itself, and it is really interesting. I mean, if you take the more kind of Buddhist, like metaphysical approach, like the interbeing that Thich Nhat Hanh writes about, it is weird to see it as one kind of conscious unit, um, and how it's the division and the factioning and the separation is really just this. I mean, it's the same thing going on in your body at all times. It's all of these processes that are, negative feedback loops, positive feedback loops, trying to strive for, possibly some homeostasis. And I think, yeah, the unique thing about it is that there are some units that are aware of their space and presence, even if for like a short time. And I don't know. I think that's pretty precious. Thoughts on having the casually explained guy back? If you're familiar with his side content, maybe he would be too out there, but could be interesting. I've never actually had him on, but that'd be interesting. I always find his videos pretty funny. And then I think one time I saw his older, or sorry, his kind of more uh, secret personal stuff. It's like it seems like he got quite, I don't want to say spiritual, but he did quite a lot of soul searching. So I'm interested, somebody with that sense of humor and self awareness and, um, I don't know, creativity, what their whole story is. I'm doing pretty good, Elizabeth. How are you doing? What's up with the nonstop vocal fry? I don't know. I guess I talk like this unless I'm like extremely excited. Yeah. Um, would you ever have someone like Hassan or Destiny on? I don't know how much you guys remember my Revolution will not be uploaded video, but I reached out to everybody that I could. I reached out to Destiny a few times because I thought he had a pretty unique perspective. Reached out to Hassan. Yeah, didn't get those guys. Just Vosh. That was really the only big. I mean, I got ContraPoints, that was great, but um, yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that space, and I think after making that video, I understand it even less. You need to start a right wing podcast. It'd be so easy, huh? That would just be, you get to be, completely complacent to the system and pretend that you're like radical and everything. It's extremely profitable, especially now with the current administration. Would you go on Wisecrack? Oh, I was watching his video on Philosophy Tubes is Nietzsche mega, and I really liked his breakdown. It was very respectful and also, seemingly very well informed, and just seems like a great guy. And yeah, I do like that channel. I watched that channel since I was like in high school, so that would be pretty interesting. I do like jazz. Yeah, I mean, thoughts on AI and ChatGPT. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's looking like LLMs and so forth are probably going to stay here, and it'll just be a massive adjustment. I do think that it's definitely concerning because it changes possibly the level of competence and the level of focus that students need to demonstrate, and potential for misuse. We have a pretty large video that's going to come out on artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence. Would you ever have someone like Andrew Tate or Sneeko back on, or Sneeko on? Sorry, I've never had those people on. I do agree. Sneeko's old content was interesting. I thought that his editing was pretty unique. And yeah, it's kind of sad what happened. Um, Andrew Tate, no, I don't think he has anything worth saying, and I don't think. I mean, it's all just kind of of a waste of oxygen. Honestly, I loved Uncut Gems too. I really liked how it ended. I thought Kevin Garnett actually, that was a pretty impressive performance, and I always love Adam Sandler. His movies are awesome. How much practical benefit do you think philosophy has had on your life? Is it mostly an intellectual curiosity, or has it benefited you personally? That's something that's kind of one of the main focuses of the book that I'm writing. That's coming out, and it will really dive into that kind of the misconception I think I had early on that philosophy is really about uh, abstract armchair theorizing. And no, like, to philosophize is really to live. It's to go out there and to actually, test these ideas, and or at least certain forms of philosophy. And I definitely believe in kind of a pragmatic. I think that's one of the best things that came out of the US was like American pragmatism, like Dewey and so forth. And I don't know. Yeah, like it's maybe there's not objective truths, but there's certain utility and actions and behavior and thoughts, and that is one of the purposes of philosophy. Um, what can you do with a philosophy degree? Uh, I mean, I think a lot of people go into law, or they usually work in some sort of like government, or like, writing, critical thinking sort of job. I do think it's necessary. I think that the degree itself does signify a level of intelligence that is maybe becoming increasingly more rare nowadays. It's necessary, like, for people to be able to be disruptive and skeptical and analytical. Will that be rewarded under the present system? Who's to say? But I think in terms of, nurturing your mind and growing as a person, it's definitely beneficial. But yeah, you do have to weigh it with the potential material kind of risks involved. I reached out to Dr. K, and there was like 3 times we were gonna talk, and then they just did not. It was a very frustrating process of trying to plan that. That's happened a few times with different people. It's a little bit annoying. I d I like Sufjan Stevens, yes. I like Carrie and Loyal, and what is it? Come On, Feel the Illinois? That is, like, That was one of my favorite albums when I was younger. That was a really good autumn album. Um, Thank you all for your well wishes and thank yous, I guess. Thank you for your thank yous. It's I do see those also. It's just I'm not going to respond to every single one. It's just like patting myself on the back. But yeah, I mean, Isaac and me are both really grateful for the compliments and the messages and the emails and the comments that we receive. It's even if the views aren't doing good sometimes, or things aren't working out, or you feel exhausted, it does feel nice that it's like people are reporting some sort of change or some sort of they're getting into a better place, which is really really nice to see that these videos have this sort of effect. And yeah, Bukowski or Camus. Probably take Camus. I do like Bukowski's some of his writings. What are your thoughts on IQ? And specifically the claim that it's one of the most rigorously validated metrics in social science. So that's true. It is one of the most rigorously validated metrics in social science. It has a pretty um, not great history, and that is partially because it was not as rigorously validated. It does have insane predictive validity compared to other measures, and there is kind of a difference between um, fairness versus like something like bias, and there is still kind of bias in terms of the measures to a certain degree, but overall it's fairly, it really emphasizes like uh, norms and standardization. In terms of fairness, that's kind of a more legal or philosophical argument that we can always talk about anytime you're going to try to assess something such as intelligence. Even defining intelligence is always going to be culturally laced. It's going to be somewhat subjective, and it's one measure among many. And I mean, people that brag about IQ or use it to, just make generalizations, I don't think they're entirely understanding that uh, like IQ is it's one measure that's used for assessments. For example, it's one that should be looked at and scrutinized, and if there is some important information you can gain from it, like, yes, you should look into it, but it's just one part of the puzzle. um oh, house cat is here. Wow, look at that. Yeah, when are we gonna go for a walk, man? Doesn't your environment determine your IQ? I mean, partially. It's kind of a both genetics and the environment. The other thing is the debate about nature versus nurture in like psychological research, for example, is pretty outdated. It's you know usually it's kind of a 50-50 split. Um, you do see like differences in groups, and that is where the argument that it's historically certain environments, like especially if certain groups are exposed to environments that do impact uh, socio-developmental stages and cognition at an early age, that does play a role. um, and then unfortunately kind of racist conclusions come from that. But to recognize that there are certain kind of institutionalized barriers and environmental barriers that can impact IQ also. But it's a pretty that's a very large discussion, I guess. All right, man, finish up your dinner. Isaac does the animation. I just do the writing and the voicing. But he recently did all of those things on the latest video. I'd recommend checking that out. Do you feel like you'll ever be satiated on the path of psychology and philosophy? Maybe you'll take up pickleball. Maybe I will. Yeah, maybe I will. Um, is it true the more depressed you become, or is it fake and it's not possible? I think there's some correlation with intelligence and depression, although I don't really want to say that with absolute certainty. I don't quite remember, honestly. I know IZAAK argued that there's like a certain level of IQ that's actually what leads to it's like psychoticism. Um, and I wanted to make a video on it. I haven't looked into that too much. Thoughts on the replication crisis? Uh, that's a that's a big one. I mean, in some ways, really, you know, broke psychology quite a bit, academic psychology. Um, at the same time, I know that a lot of people in psychology argue that the field itself was unfairly placed at as like the front, as like the face of the replication crisis. That there is a lot of scientific research in general that isn't replicable. Um, and then ironically, some people argue that that's psychology has actually made kind of the most efforts to adjust to it now. I know that there's now journals out there that they publish papers that are just replication papers, because that's one of the things is that the field doesn't really reward you for just replicating a study, and if you are replicating a study, it's usually one that you already did, so there's researcher bias. So it's a hard one. I mean, the how the research is designed, how academia is designed is not perfect, and it would be nice to see things change in the future. Do you have a cat? I used to. I was taking care of this really beautiful cat last semester, and I might get a new cat, um, just because I really enjoyed that. I'm allergic to cats, but it was worth it. My eyes were red all the time, unfortunately, but I I really enjoyed coming home and snuggling with that cat. I think you should explain your intentions behind your channel. There's no real intentions here. I mean, it's like a creative outlet and it seems to help people. It's I think for both for Isaac and me, it's not like the main thing in our lives. It's like a nice fun thing that we can do that, I think over the past few years it has unfortunately like at times become, it's felt just like very business. And I don't know, I'm getting kind of sick of that, especially because like now I am in the real world dealing with like actual uh you know problems that aren't just like online and digital and me kind of just talking about whatever I want to, which was fun, but I'm experiencing real responsibility, and I don't really want this to be another uh weight on my shoulders. So the intent, I think, going forward is to really see this as like a kind of a space for community and creativity and engagement. That's how art is like in this system. Yeah. No, I unfortunately YouTube, my brother may have been talking about this. It's the he called it the Mr. Beastification of YouTube. And yeah, I mean, you kind of have to just pump out content more and more and more, and it starts to erode the creativity. And it's just unfortunate. So you kind of gotta you have to fight it in subtle and intelligent ways. Do you and Isaac have a favorite video you guys made? I think we come back to um, the the squonk a lot. That one really just came out of nowhere, and I have all these books on like cryptozoological creatures from when I was a kid. That was one of them, but it's just such a such a strange story. It's such a strange creature. It's just it's ugly. Like that's its thing. And there isn't really much beyond that. So I thought it was like a really good uh, kind of opportunity to talk about self-esteem and self-concept and self-appraisal in kind of a simple story. You guys should release a children's book. Our mom actually is, she's thinking of doing that, and we're thinking of maybe, well, what if we make a video kind of to uh, spur it on? Because she similarly made a story that has like this. Talks about like serendipity and kind of embracing uncertainty, and it is fun making those videos. Just like sometimes Isaac was saying this, like a narrative, a story can be a lot more compelling than kind of just a video essay where you're listing ideas out. You should cover Foucault more. I love him. Yeah, Foucault's pretty good. I like some of his stuff. I'd really recommend his introduction to Anti-Oedipus. That I think that's some of the best that he's written, and it also does a really good job describing the project of Deleuze and Guattari and Foucault and all those weird French guys. I've noticed recent changes in your videos, which I personally enjoy, but are these changes motivated by viewership or personal desire for change? I think it's a little bit of both. I think I think we were just recognizing that it's like the stuff that we were making, it just wasn't really um we didn't find as fulfilling, and we just wanted to like be more excited to make stuff. And usually when we change things up, you see like a difference in views, which we overall have seen, but the algorithm is a fickle beast. I really enjoy that you're essentially like a science communicator like Carl Sagan and the like, but for psychology and philosophy. I really appreciate that. That's nice. That's a high compliment, and it would be great one day to be as effective of a communicator as him. What medium of art would you like to explore but haven't? I cannot sing, but I do really like music. I've always thought, to make an album or make some sort of musical piece would be insane. And I mean, Isaac is extremely talented in that domain, and I'm jealous. Like I really just I see music as like this magical medium, and it's just so impressive what it can do because it's just so seemingly simple and kind of uh, I don't know, spontaneous at the same time. Do you play an instrument? I just play guitar every once in a while. I know a couple chords. Do you have any tips for people who want to pursue YouTube/video essay content? Yeah, I mean, I would just really make stuff that you're interested in, like the topic you're interested in. Don't chase trends. Don't chase like topical stuff. People can tell, like when you're making a video, that you're actually this is just like an obsession of yours, because that's fun to watch. Is when somebody goes down a rabbit hole, trying to answer a question that you didn't even think of, that nobody's even thought of before. I think that's like the really endearing part of YouTube. That's still what makes it feel like, it's YouTube. Jim is in here. Hey Jim. That's the Zim zone. You can check out his DJ work if you're interested in that. Thank you very much, Jim. We'll play basketball soon. Um Would you and Isaac start to do more on-camera videos rather than animations eventually? So we've talked about this a lot, but at the end of the day, the stick men will be there no matter what. That will never leave this channel. That's it's crucial. Even if we do more on camera stuff, there always needs to be at least one stick man in a video. That's a rule. Oh, nice. Nausea. What do you think of it so far? I really like that. I think I read it in like uh I don't know. I was pretty young. I don't think I understood it at the time. I should reread it. I like the passage about the tree. That always sticks out to me. Have you ever seen the channel called Horses? Yes, really like their videos. Also, really like their thumbnails. It's like art every time they have a thumbnail. It's really impressive. Very distinct somehow, even though each one is very different. Do you like Zuzu or Radiohead? Or do you like the Antlers? I've listened to the first one. I've listened to Zuzu, but only their cover of Twin Peaks, of the Twin Peaks soundtrack. I also don't know if I'm saying their name properly. Radiohead, I've listened to, what is it, In Rainbows? That one? That one's pretty good. I like it. I don't know. It's like pretty, I don't know. It's like, it's okay. There's some songs I like. I guess I'm not like the biggest Radiohead fan, but I understand why people like it. Do you have a writing reading schedule? I read it constantly, and I usually try to write first thing in the morning. But I have a stats exam coming up, and I'm trying to swallow the frog and just do my stats stuff like first thing in the morning, even though it sucks. What do you use to make the animations for your videos? Adobe Animate. What am I studying? Clinical psychology. I follow basketball. I like the Toronto Raptors. I'll make a reading list. Yeah, I'll try my best to make a reading list soon for like a new video, just like stuff I've read or something. I've wanted to start like a book club, and I'd recommend going on the Patreon if there's enough people that sign up. Like I will make this you know a real consistent thing. There just like isn't enough people yet. Check out the Patreon just in general, just even for lower tiers, just to find some stuff. Yeah, no, please join. And when you do join, I'd suggest like recommend a book to read. Also, I did one for it was like Marshall Linehan's Building a Life Worth Living, and I don't know, there wasn't enough people like interacting or anything, and I need I need enough consistent kind of endorsement for that sort of content. Just a little stretched thin. Um, hey brother, I'm at McGill right now. I know you made a video about your experience a while back. It's final seasons right now, and I'm U0 doing poli sci. I'm not super inspired like at all. I mean, there's always a possibility you're just like not interested in political science, which is fine. It depends on what you're interested in. Part of just doing well in university is teaching yourself to be intrinsically interested in the material in the class, and that can be really hard sometimes. I had to take some pretty uh, annoying like behavioral neuroscience classes and a few stats classes, and you do just have to kind of find some way to tell yourself that this is interesting. And also, especially U0, just try to do your best, because that is going to set you up for the rest of university. So really try to, you know at the very least, that should be motivation. Try to not tank your GPA at the very start. How do you find your passions? Was it something you always knew you wanted to do, or was it just a trial and error type deal? Yeah, it's kind of trial and error. I think I don't know, when you grow up, you have so many expectations put on you, and you kind of model your interests off of your, parents, off of the people close to you. And yeah, it does take some time to really figure out exactly what you want to do, but it's a pretty fun process. Like, hey, I really enjoyed this, didn't really enjoy that. Um, I don't know. I don't even know. I need to really think about how I got into certain things. I mean, the book that I've written, that is it's a long explanation of how I got into philosophy. But yeah, like I'm thinking like basketball, I could not tell you. When will you wear wigs? I don't know if that's a reference to the Elijah Wood interview, but that's very funny. Do you write notes as you read or just raw dog it? I usually have a pen and I like write in the book. I do like George Carlin. There is a video on the channel about the philosophy of George Carlin. Are you going to be a clinical psychologist when you graduate? That is the plan. Yeah. How is your voice so soothing? Helps me fall asleep in a good way. I'm honestly thinking of just making like a mega compilation of a bunch of the videos, and just just to help people sleep, like maybe put some like nice peaceful lullaby music over top of it, just because I get a lot of comments like that. Make audiobooks. That'd be cool. I've actually really noticed that. I've been starting audiobooks, and the it really makes a difference when the narrator actually sounds good. I have a weighted blanket. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not reading out these questions. This probably seems really random. Why the cinematic changes for the new videos? We just wanted to try it out. I mean, both my brother and me really like movies, and this was like we finally had worked long enough that we could like make something a bit different, a bit more, I think, interesting, and seems like people liked it. It's been pretty fun to make these. I do like Studio Ghibli. Any takes on techno feudalism? I don't know. It looks like we're heading there, unfortunately. Um, it would be nice if it was curtailed in some way. Um, but yeah, these companies, I mean, they got a lot of money. They got a lot of money and they got a lot of power, and it's very unfortunate, especially because they have all of our private data too. How have you managed balancing school and YouTube and not putting too many chips into either so you stay successful in both? I don't know if I've stated successful in both. It's been really exhausting, and I think over the summer I'm gonna have to reconsider my, uh, you know, obviously I am honestly a lot more focused on school, but I do want to be engaged in this, but more as like an outlet and not like another source of like burnout and stress. And yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I wish I knew that answer also. Do you think of yourself as famous? People don't recognize me. Um, and I like that. every once in a while, maybe someone will be like, "Oh, do you have, like, a YouTube channel?" But it's God, I would not want to, like, go outside and be I've talked to other YouTubers, and that is, like, that's their thing. That would be really annoying. I like to have some anonymity. Any experience with breath work or nasal breathing? Yeah, I don't know, I try to meditate as often as possible when I'm stressed about something, like, if I have to do a presentation, uh, I'll do some breath work. I'll try to focus on myself as much as possible. I wanna ask you guys also, if I was to do these streams more often, do you want me to cover, like, specific topics? Do you just prefer this kind of loose Q&A method? Um, because I actually do enjoy these streams, um, but, I'm always curious if there is enough interest there. That is always really hard to gauge. Yeah, I also agree. I think getting Isaac on here would be cool. Maybe show the progress of one of the videos. I keep telling him, like, we should do more behind the scenes stuff. We have some behind the scenes stuff in the Patreon. I think, adding to that would be really good. A guided stream, almost like a lesson plan, would be cool. I think that'd be interesting. That's kind of what I'm asking is, like, are there certain topics that you're interested in, that maybe I could cover in a bit more of a, you know, personable, less like throwing all these like papers and studies at you, kind of way. Do you think philosophy can or will play a major role in the development of AGI? Yeah, we are making a video on AGI that's coming up pretty soon. Show the hooping highlights. I actually have a video of me this summer playing basketball with Noah Sampson. He visited Montreal and he played hoops with the fellas I usually play with at the same court. AGI is artificial general intelligence. Why do your videos always have a depressing tone? Damn, do they? I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that is philosophy for you. Yeah, I mean, I also I don't know if I have the personality to like be like super, you know, smiling all the time and like that kind of forced positivity. I think like in our streams and stuff like that, I don't mind that, but we're talking about some serious things a lot of the time that have like real weight. The Squonk episode on repeat. Yeah, I really like a lot of people I've met talk about the Squonk episode with great acclaim, and I do think making content like that again would be fun. You give me Dante DiVincenzo vibes. That's crazy. Didn't he just get suspended recently for like a was it him in the fight? Was it the Pistons and the Timberwolves or something? funny. Uh, what are some of your favorite books that you've read recently you recommend? I like The Gift of Therapy by Urban Yalom. Um, it's really good. Just in kind of getting me in the proper space to talk to people. Um, yeah. I don't know. I read, yeah, Building a Life Worth Living by Marshall Linehan. It was just interesting seeing the development of DBT. There's also a book, The Good Life, that I've been reading that's based off of this like really long study by Harvard where they looked at both like really poor communities in Boston and people that like were going to Harvard and obviously had more money. And they like tracked them through their whole lives. And then they tracked like generations in their family. And they like tried to figure out what like why do some people live a good life and other people don't. The main variable they found was like the quality of relationships in your life dictates a lot of variables in terms of like happiness, health, mortality. Even it's an interesting book too. I haven't really. I've watched. I think one of Casually explains videos on self realization, and he talks about. I think he's like referring to Krishnamurti, and I've read a lot of Krishnamurti and stuff. So yeah, I mentioned it before that. Um, like I don't know. Maybe I'll talk to him sometime. I can reach out to him. I think I'm going to sign off pretty soon. I have considered a flip phone. I was talking to a friend about that. I actually just watched Eddie Burbeck's video where he gets rid of his phone for, I think, is it a month or a week? That was a really good, that was a great video, actually. I really like his content. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think, okay, one more question. Let's see. I'm not going to talk about that. Jeez. Come on. Give me one that's like a nice one to end it on. How do you get the most out of university? Um, yeah, just try to be as present as possible. I know it's hard because you have like a lot of exams and stuff, but really just try to like appreciate the amount of resources that you actually have at university. You have like a library, you have clubs, you have other people interested in the same stuff. Your professors are usually experts in their field. It's like the only time you'll be in like a physical environment, hopefully, if you have a nice campus where, there's not a bunch of stores and, there's a lot of green spaces and you're running into your friends and just like really try to appreciate that as much as possible because that is not real life, unfortunately. It is really a place where you could like nurture and grow and be curious and be rewarded for it. And you get scholarships and good grades. Um, so yeah, just try to be as present as possible. And not everyone gets to go to university, so really treat it like the gift it is, I guess. All right. Well, thank you all for uh joining and for your questions, and maybe I'll make this like a bi-weekly thing or a twice a week thing. We'll see how consistent I can be with all of this. But take care, everyone.